you are watching an entire generation looking at the world around them going, I don't care. I just don't care anymore. I don't care about the here's another form of power exercise that you probably saw over the past 4 years. Pronouns. Do you know who removed pronouns from her Twitter profile last week?
No.
No. Ooh.
AOC.
Oh.
They don't have power anymore.
Hmm.
The indifference.
Okay, say that. Okay, let me understand this. She had her different pronouns that she stated, and now she just dropped that. So now you
Yeah.
can call her by normal pronouns again.
Correct. That is
Oh.
according to the rules of the left. She dropped her pronouns. You can call her a she now.
Oh.
Yeah, I never obeyed the pronouns, and I never cared when people try to shame me.
I guess.
I just didn't
So
care.
what you're saying is men particularly, but society in general, became indifferent to all this pronoun bullshit.
Yes, they did.
And now the pronoun people have no power by no one's playing.
No one's playing the
those your
game anymore.
pronouns? I don't give a shit. I'm going to call you what I'm just going to use whatever I want to express myself. I don't care.
Exactly. Indifference is the ultimate destruction of the Nietzschean philosophy. Because if you don't play by the Nietzschean's rules of power, what do? They don't. The Nietzschean only knows how to interact with the world in terms of power. They have no framework for anything else. So if you meet them with utter indifference to their attempts to exercise power over you, they go, but what? Why don't you care?
So
Why
isn't
aren't
it
you
all?
acting?
Isn't it also? But isn't this also a Gramscian use of power at the institutions to enforce that hegemony over you?
Yes, it is. But it's a use of power. The Gramscians adopted the Gramscians read Foucault and Derrida just as much as any of the rest of them. The disagreement was more over how, and not really the what the best way to achieve this was. Structuralism has a core component of power to it, and that's the concept of the power to change language is the power to change. It's where the book 1984 comes from. It's right. The power to change language is the power to change the human mind. And so if I can change the human mind with language, I can perfect it. But that means that language is the ultimate power in the universe.
Well,
so they're both Nietzschean, but one's more fundamentally Nietzschean than the other. One's
Correct.
more will to power, the other one's more
perspectivism.
Yeah, okay.
So the Gramscians gained control of the educational institutions because they thought they're going to control the culture with that.
Correct.
What happens when the men become indifferent to education, higher education, and stop going?
Well, they lose their power.
That. They lose their power. Okay, the women are all indoctrinated. The men aren't there. Oh, the men are falling behind. No. You know what? Power innately is masculine. Wherever the men go is where society's going to go.
Yep.
I mean, collectively.
Yeah.
Not, and it's okay. It's in en masse. Maybe not. Men don't really wield collective power. It's the mass power of where the men are.
Well,
does that make it more clear?
Okay, let me throw this one at you though. But wouldn't the smart Nietzscheans say that weaponized autism is just a particularly strong expression of power? That indifference is a particularly strong expression of power? I mean, if it's so powerful that it can negate power.
Well, sure. I guess they could use that as a tool in their arsenal.
Okay.
I don't think it's necessarily strictly Nietzschean, though.
It's
I
a
don't know that
tautology.
they'd recognize it.
Well, I want to bring up this argument because I'm sure somebody who's a Nietzsche fan will hit us with a comment or a screed about this. And the answer is actually very simple. If the strongest expression of power is to ignore the concept of power, then what is the point of power at all?
That's the whole point of Nietzscheanism in the first place. Oh, there is no truth except that truth.
Right.
It's internally inconsistent as a system.
That's yes, which is why I led off with, talking to some philosopher friends. We actually, as we were talking through Nietzscheanism, we actually just kind of arrived at this is an incoherent philosophy. That it is not a coherent system of thought. Yeah. What I find here, there's another thing. Go ahead.
Oh, just a thought. I don't know if this relates. When you talk about weaponized autism, a way to put that into practice on the micro scale is agree and amplify. When
Yep.
someone criticizes you, when you laugh and say, "Yep," and it's even more. You're indifferent. They tried to just jab you with that. You're indifferent, and you're agreeing, and you're amplifying, and you're making it funny, and you got no power over me. That's weaponized autism.
Sir, yes, sir. Weaponized autism is, and there's a reason why you see it being exercised at such scale on the internet. Like, if more than anything else, weaponized autism is why Trump won. So many people just became indifferent to the machinations of the left, and they voted how they were going to vote. And now there's some nuance to that data. We'll get into that towards the or as we get along here a little bit. But there's another observation I had, and I find this fascinating because most Nietzscheans are fascinated with Ayn Rand's work, particularly The Fountainhead and Atlas Shrugged, but her objectivist philosophy actually understands the key weakness of Nietzscheanism. And that is that there is an objective reality, that perspectivism is a bunch of bullshit. So even a woman recognized the fatal flaw of Nietzscheanism. But so, I've often heard it said that, Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged is the favorite book of disaffected teenage boys. Okay, that's great. Fine, whatever. If that's the case, then Nietzscheanism is the favored philosophy of toddlers throwing their toys around the room and daring their parents to do anything about it. I mean, there's a reason why every parent who's ever lived will call the toddler years a contest of the wills. I don't know, Nick, how was your experience raising toddlers?
They always did that. Usually 2 or 3. They still do it, but it's just the answer is no, no, no.
And
You don't get your way. Redirect, discipline.
Indifference.
Hey,
Sometimes indifference. Yeah, that'll really get them upset.
consequences.
Consequences.
Consequences. Didn't you guys just do a stream with Elena on consequences?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did do that.
That's a good stream. You know what? For once, I didn't have to participate, and I just enjoyed listening.
Lucky you, Steve. So, but here's the thing. Children properly reared and everyone agrees that proper rearing of children requires that you push them out of the toddler years and the toddler behavior. So not only is Nietzscheanism, here's another thing. I didn't even have this in my notes, but I just connected it right now. We often say that women stop developing mentally the moment they grow chesticles. Okay. So if what you're saying is that Nietzscheanism is feminine and women are children, and Nietzscheanism is the philosophy of toddlers throwing their toys around the room, Nietzscheanism is the philosophy of children, females. That's what it is.
Okay, you're just doing an analogy here, kind of a generalization. We know it's not absolutely true,
Yes.
but it's exaggerated to kind of prove a point and illustrate what certain people perceive and the truth in those perceptions. It's not
Yeah.
literal.
No. I mean, this is a philosophy stream. I got so into it that I forgot to put in my constant reminders that I speak in generalities, not in specifics. I'm sure there are people out there who think you're the exception. And by the way, if you think you are the exception, you are not the exception. As a general rule, har har har.